Greetings, Legunus, Arendelle here. So, on December 10th, I and many of you sat through quite a bit of the Game Awards before finally we got to see Darktide. However, for many of us, it was a bit of a disappointment, and here, I'd like to go over a few reasons why that was. Now, in part, it was just how short the trailer was, especially in contrast to how long many of us had to wait for it. But that isn't Fatshark's fault. They didn't get to pick what time their trailer got to come through, or at least I seriously doubt they did. And as we saw when we watched the uncut trailer they released later, there were a few scenes that weren't included in the live stream from the Game Awards. Not a lot of scenes, but some that helped fill it out and give it flavor. But that's about it. A lot of people felt very underwhelmed by this, and I felt myself a bit disappointed by it before I realized why. Back 4 Blood came first in the stream, and to be honest, the game looks amazing, and for all intents and purposes, it's the next in line to the Left 4 Dead franchise, as they use the same game style and whatnot. That puts it into direct competition with Darktide. As such, I found myself comparing the two games actively, and Back 4 Blood definitely looks flashier. However, thus far it has not announced any kind of equipment system, such as the one Vermintide sports, that set it apart from other games of its kind in the genre. So unless this is something Back 4 Blood intends to add later or already has in the works but simply hasn't told us, we can expect Darktide 2, at the very least, have this leg up on it. Now, some months ago, we saw the original trailer for Darktide announcing it to the world. I must admit, I loved that trailer. It had me just yearning for Darktide, and it was anything but underwhelming. We got to see the same short chainsword that you see the guardsmen pulling from the head of something in the gameplay trailer. You saw a plasma gun wielding veteran who, when the noob of the group keeps shaking his las gun as the flashlight on it won't work right, casually smacks the other man's gun to get the flashlight working. That left me grinning. And the fourth man of the group definitely wasn't a noob, but when they encountered the enemy, it was obvious he wasn't the same stalwart veteran as the chainsword wielding guy and the plasma gunner were. Now, how does this contrast with what we saw in the new trailer, and why did one leave us hyped while the other trailer left us underwhelmed? A big part of it was because we had a very mixed bag in the new trailer. The guardsmen seem to have normal gear, a las gun and chainsword. Maybe not normal for a guardsman, but not anything like super nice. He didn't have like a flamethrower or plasma gun, nothing along those lines that if a guardsman were to be really well kitted out, that's what he would have. Now, the sister did have a thunderhammer, which is a power weapon capable of dealing some serious damage there. But her ranged weapon was only a las gun by the looks of it, rather than something really powerful to match that power, thunder hammer, such as a bolter, which also would fall in line with a Sister of Battle, which was really underwhelming and a little bit out of character for a sister. I've never heard of a sister wielding a las gun. Now, the officer had a power sword, once again, power weapon, but their ranged weapon was only an auto gun. And I was just like, really? Once again, mixed bag. The power sword, powerful weapon. Auto gun, weaker than a las gun. What the? I was beyond confused. Anyway, the Ogren was without doubt, though, the greatest travesty of all, as it only had a combat blade and a single round gun of some kind. Maybe a grenade launcher, maybe shotgun, couldn't really tell. Which, while yes, these weapons would be huge in the hands of anyone else, they are small in the Ogrens, and considering what an Ogren could take, this left me feeling very underwhelmed. So another reason why I felt so underwhelmed was the ending they had. I think they were going for that typical heavily outgunned, heavily outnumbered, and you can't possibly see them surviving situation that you see in the Left 4 Dead trailers and the Back 4 Blood trailer at the very end of it. Yeah, the first trailer definitely gave me that feeling as you see 4 guardsmen face off with a horde of what looked to be Nurgle cultists and the odd huge mutant thrown in. But I never saw that one in this one. Closest we got was that large creature at the end, and that did not land it for me. Not at all. If they turned a corner and came across that same massive horde you see at the ending of the first trailer, that would have gone down much better. But unfortunately, they didn't go that route. Picture that scene where the survivors in the second Left 4 Dead found themselves, after just having gotten away from a nasty horde and one of their members nearly being, grabbed by a massive tongue, find themselves descending into a shopping mall fully filled with the undead. Filled to the brim with all manner of those vile creatures. And there's that moment of where like, oh crap. Now picture that in 40K, a universe built off of mankind's defiance of the darkness, which laughs at their every futile effort to resist, yet resist they do, and sometimes they deal serious blows to that darkness, which makes them stop laughing. And as they, imagine that. And these characters coming down into this tide of vile, Nurgle, rotted cultists, and the characters fully comprehend their situation. There's that one moment where they all have that doubt, and they're just all like fragmentation before they grit their teeth, grip their weapons. And the trailer then circles the characters, the guardsman toting a plasma gun, the sister grinning as she holds up a flamer, the ignition torch lighting up her face. The officer holding up a grenade launcher, and the Ogryn coming up last racks the slide on some kind of heavy weapon. Like, maybe a heavy stubber as a basic heavy weapon, or if you really want to get there, a heavy bolter, or an auto gun. I mean, just holy terror, that would have landed perfectly for me. And I think that feeling I get from that is what they were going for with this trailer. And that's what they completely failed to attain. I mean, really, really failed. So, those are my conclusions on why the trailer felt so underwhelming. Is this something to be concerned about? No, not in my opinion. Why? Because it's just a trailer. Sure, a gameplay trailer, but it is still a very early one and was a very mixed bag between showing a lot of the flashy graphics, which, in my opinion, were one of the most underwhelming parts of it, especially given that we'd already watched Back 4 Blood earlier on in the live stream. And yeah, that sucked a little bit. I'm just plain hoping that when the game itself comes out, it's truly a standalone 40K Tide of Darkness. Now, what do I mean by standalone? Well, I'm referring back to Vermintide. I want Fatshark to take the lessons they've learned from Vermintide 1 and 2, of course, to figure out what worked, what didn't, to see what they can and can't use from those games in Darktide. To, yes, make the game faster, and hopefully to also help it stand on its own as a quality game. A fear that has been brought up to me multiple times is that Darktide is just going to be a 40K reskinned version of Vermintide, that it's going to have so much alike with its cousins from the fantasy universe that it might as well just be a mod. From what gameplay we've seen so far, I can neither confirm that as a possibility, but nor can I eliminate it. The melee in the trailer looked pretty similar to what we see in Vermintide, and to a point, that's a good thing, as Fatshark should use what's applicable from those games. But what it shouldn't do is use it as a crutch, and thus not develop melee weaponry and combat unique to 40K. One of the biggest trickiest examples of this is the chainsword, or chain short sword, as the one in the trailer is unusually short. This isn't a weapon that just strikes and slices. It grinds through its foes with raging tenacity, chewing through flesh, bone, and armor with vigor. It doesn't just, and armor, it does have to chew through more slowly. It definitely doesn't slice through any of those, though, which can make it a force to be reckoned with, but also affects its behavior within the game, and it shouldn't act like a normal sword. Whether or not Fatshark will take this into account, I'm not sure. I honestly didn't see enough gameplay with the chain blade in the trailer to be able to tell one way or another. And I have similar thoughts on the Thunderhammer being wielded by the sister. On one hand, you do see a flash of energy every time it strikes a foe, but on the other, none of those foes were particularly well armored. And that's where a Thunderhammer excels versus armor. It's a very powerful weapon, even a smaller version that the sister was wielding. So I can't tell if they are going to do it justice or not. If they are going to treat it the same way they did the Warhammer from Vermintide, which was a powerful weapon, but it wasn't a Thunderhammer by any means. Now, when it came to range, the only area of similarity I can see between Darktide and Vermintide is the Ogryn's ranged weapon. A one-shot that immediately required a reload after discharge, and similarities can be immediately drawn to the Dwarf, as at least one of its weapons behaves just that way. But besides that, I've yet to see more similarities in ranged combat. But if I've missed anything, I'm sure someone will let me know down in the comment section below. But thus far, when it comes to ranged combat, that's where I see it live and die. Besides maybe the Dwarven Engineer, when they come out and all that, there may be more similarities there. I'm personally quite eager to try that as soon as I get the chance. But anyway, so as stated before, it's too early to tell just how Darktide will turn out. It could be a great standalone game that, while it draws upon its roots from Vermintide, doesn't rely on them, or it could just be a reskin. Only time will tell when the game does drop sometime next year, assuming the release date doesn't get pushed back. In any case, everyone, please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you think. Did you love the trailer just the way it was, or was there something missing in it to you? Do you think Darktide will just be a reskin version of its predecessor, Vermintide? Or do you think by the time it comes out, it'll have its own legs to stand on? Let me know down in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. And remember, if you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't already, please throw it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel and genuinely enjoy this content, please consider subscribing. And in any case, don't get into too much trouble, or do. It's always up to you. Toodles, Legionus.